Hi. Today under the Managing People and Organizations lesson, we are going to discuss about the small business startups. Why do we need the small businesses and what we call as the small businesses and what are we going to identify as the small businesses? Small businesses by its nature, those are like basically the privately owned corporations, or it can be the partnerships, or in some cases we can see some of the sole proprietorships that have fewer employees or maybe one employee, let's say as the owner, right, and less annual revenue than a regular sized business or corporation is known as a smaller business organization or known as a small business organization. When it comes to the definition of the small business, there are some of the measures that we can measure the small businesses in the scales, right? Those are like the number of employees, the size of the operation, the number of the revenue, whatever we gain during the annual period of a time, and the size of the business, the expansion, the number of branches, and so on and so forth. But of course, when it comes to the small businesses, we can't say the businesses in the means of with the limitations, like there are the businesses those who carry 2 to 10 number of employees, like that we can't say like that, because why? It may differ from business to business with its nature and with the resource utilization. Now when it comes to the businesses like larger scale operations, right, especially the businesses like the software engineering firms or software organizations, they do have smaller amount of people, but of course they do a large sort of a business, or compared to the other businesses they may gain sort of a huge revenue in the means of the values, right? Okay, so that is why we say it's basically those are owned as the can be the corporations, partnerships, or sole proprietorships. Of course, those are having a less annual revenue, as well as the operation is very smaller, and also having the less number of employees, and when it compares with the regular size with the businesses, right? So moving to the next slide, we can see the entrepreneurship. What do you mean by entrepreneurship? The way it should pronounce is entrepreneurs. So to become a business owner, or let's say a small business owner, you must be an entrepreneur. Where entrepreneur is a person who involves in the process of entrepreneurship. What do you mean by an entrepreneurship? Entrepreneurship is like basically a transformation process while seizing some of the ideas and available opportunities from the nature, and you try to capitalize something in it. So a process of initiating the business venture, organizing the necessary resources, and assuming the associated risks and rewards is known as a process of entrepreneurship. In that case, the entrepreneurs are mostly seeking for the available opportunities, or known as the potential income sources, the potential income opportunities in the world, and they capitalize those opportunities with their available resources. So which means, if you can remember, when we were discussing about the functions of management and especially the managers' roles and roles of management, we discussed about a role under there were three roles: interpersonal, informational, and decisional. Under the decisional role, if you can remember, there was a task known as the entrepreneur, right? So under the managerial task, what we were expecting was to the business personality, or let's say the role of the manager, should be a person who allocates the resources among the available opportunities. So what is happening in the entrepreneurship is still same, where once the person has found an opportunity, or can be the opportunities, through so many ways of work, and they are going to just capitalize them, which will generate a flow of income, which will generate a flow of employment to the society likewise, right? So basically, entrepreneurship is having two types of tasks, where the first one is the innovation and the other one is the job creation. Now innovation is where the entrepreneurs are basically searching for the new opportunities, or known as unknown opportunities, right? The opportunities which are not existing. So they capitalize them in a way to create another sort of a new thing, that is called innovation, right? A new creation. So that is what you know as the innovation. So in that innovation, through that innovation, you will create numbers of jobs, or numbers of employment to the society. So that is what we are expecting through job creation. So there are two functions in the entrepreneurship. You can see innovation and job creation. Moving further, we can see there are 5 types of small business owners. Now, as an example, when it comes to the small business owners, see, according to the presentation, there are 5 types. The first one is idealists, optimizers, hard workers, jugglers, sustainers. Now, as you can see in the pictorial or the graphical expression, you can see the idealists. There are like 24 numbers. Actually, we have taken this through the study conducted by the knowledge partners of UK. So actually this has been taken from the internet. So basically, based on that particular research, it says that 24% of the total of the entrepreneurs are idealists. What do you mean by an idealist? Now, who is an idealist? Idealist is a person who rewarded by chance to work on something new and creative, right? Rewarded by chance to work with some of the new and something new and creative. So those are known as idealists. Basically, they do the idea germination and they do work with some of the new things, right? Those are 24%, right? There can be, either the idealists can be sustained in their businesses or even they can divest, but of course they are a part of the small business startups, right? And the second ones are optimizers. They are the people, those who gain some of a personal satisfaction through involving their own business, right, or becoming a business owner. So those are optimizers, right? And the third ones are hard workers. Hard workers are the people, those who thrive in all these challenges and things, and they understand the contexts and they do work accordingly and try to expand their businesses more larger, as well as to gain some sort of a profits and to generate some employment. So they are the people, those who work hard, right? So 20% out of the population of small business owners are hard workers. The fourth ones are the jugglers, the people, those who have high energy and people are enjoying through handling day-to-day circumstances and some of in detail scenarios. Now, when it comes to those types of jugglers, if you can see, the company chairperson is working as a CEO, right? Even though there's a staff, but he's like involving in day-to-day operations, not in the strategic way, right? We already learned on the strategic, the functional level management and the operational level management. So the chairperson or the being the CEO or the top executive, he's also coming down to the down layer functions and see what are the things happening in the gravity, right? So he's coming to the the ground and he's working and managing and working with the tasks and things in day-to-day life of the business. And those are jugglers, right? Really energetic people. And then the final or the fifth people are the sustainers, those who really sustain the business in a way of making the balance between the work and the life. So that is like gaining the professional life exposure as well as gaining and maintaining the personal life exposure into the business. So they create they really enjoy themselves through making the balance between these two, right? So these are the 5 types of small business owners. Moving further, we can see the entrepreneurs are having their own characteristics and the traits. We call them as the entrepreneurial traits, and there we can see 7 numbers of entrepreneurial traits. So when it comes to the entrepreneurial traits, the first one is autonomy, right? If you are an entrepreneur, you must be having the autonomy over your work, right? And entrepreneurs struggle. So entrepreneurs are always struggling with some of the challenges as well as some of the resource constraints, some of the it can be from the external or internal environment. So they will always struggle to do their entrepreneurial tasks and activities. That is called the entrepreneurial efforts, right? And the third one is power and influence. Now, being an entrepreneur, a person who is lacking the ability of power and the person who doesn't have the ability of controlling others as well as influencing others cannot be an entrepreneur, cannot be a successful entrepreneur, because lacking over the power or the influence is not going to work with the entrepreneurship. So you must be having a power and influence to work with entrepreneurial effort. And then high energy. If you are about to divest now, when it comes to the challenging phases, whenever your business is meeting with challenges, constraints, some of the adverse circumstances, if you are letting them to be come into your business, and also if you are letting your business to be frustrated with all these obstructed by all these constraints, so it's not going to work. In that case, you will end up with your business. Because of that, high energy is required to struggle with them as well, and need of achievement, or let's say need to achieve. So entrepreneurs are always need to achieve something, right? It can be in their daily sort of work life, or else it can be in long term, right? So need to achieve is one of the most important traits which can be seen in the entrepreneur's characteristics. And self-confidence. So they are having a lack of, even though they are lack of having lack of knowledge, always the entrepreneurs must be knowledgeable. But even though they don't have the academic capacity, but still, if a person is a self-confidence, they can improve their other things, right? Without having the self-confidence, even though you are having very good, let's say as an example, now you being the business people, those who are following the business degrees and courses, even though you are having the knowledge related to the business, if you don't have the self-confidence over you, so then you cannot be a good entrepreneur. To create reshape the lifestyles, to create the the new ventures and new opportunities, as well as the flow of income, as well as the flow of employments to the society, you must be self-confidence enough. And tolerance of ambiguity. Now ambiguity is something like you are getting so many ideas more than than you are focusing on one, right? So you must be tolerable person, you must be a tolerant person to tolerate those circumstances where you must be focused on one thing, right? If you are going to focus on so many things, that's going to be totally ripped out your business. So because of that, you must concentrate on one thing. So tolerance of ambiguity is something else. Okay, so these are the entrepreneurial characteristics that we can see, or the entrepreneurial traits that we can see from an entrepreneurial personality. When it comes to social entrepreneurship, we can see some of the ventures are there creating the social values by providing the social solutions to the social problems, right? And then they are just making the profits as the secondary objective of that particular business. Now, as an example, let's say even if somebody feels like the garbage problem is a problem for the society, so he or she may tries to work with that, and find a way to to destroy all these garbages, while destroying garbage is for the social welfare or satisfaction of the societal well-being. And but at the secondary objective, they will find a solution for the electricity as well, that is to generate a sort of a cash flow or profits, something like that, right? So that is what you know as social entrepreneurship. Now, launching entrepreneurial startup is not an easy thing, right? Because why? There are several types of steps to be taken. The first one is, whenever you are launching an entrepreneurial startup, or let's say a small business, first thing is idea germination. That is called starting with an idea. Now, once the idea is germinated, you can use so many sources of resources. Let's say it can be primary data or secondary data or whatever. So you have so many data available, and you can do your own thinking process, where you can generate some idea, or even you can do some sort of mind mapping, or even anyway, entrepreneurial startup is going to be a sort of an innovation, right? So because of that, you can think of with the involvement of your peers, as well as with if you do have a spouse, with that, if you have a family, with them. So you can think, you can initiate your thinking process. It can be through brainstorming, it can be through mind mapping, it can be through your own analytical thinking. But anyway, it's going to start up with your own idea, right? Then according to a particular idea, this is what I told you about the tolerance of the ambiguity, right? So with the ambiguity, so you can think about one specific idea, one particular idea to be implemented in future with the available resources and things. So you write a business plan, right? You write a business plan with the necessary things, where how we are going to manage with all these business efforts at the very first time, the very first age, and what are the feasibilities, or what is the percentile, let's say, the probability of the success of this business, right? So you do a sort of a business analysis and you write a business plan. The third one is to choose the legal structure. Now, when it comes to a business, it can either be a sole proprietorship, it can be a partnership, it can be a corporation, it can be a company, right? And there are several types of companies, if you can remember, right? So you must then decide over the legal structure of the company, because this is how you are going to lay your skeleton over your business, right? This is how you are going to manage, this is how you are going to communicate, this is how you are going to delegate your authority, and everything is there, right? Then coming to the fourth stage, that is called arranging financing. If you do have funds, of course you can go for equity financing. That is called you can do involve your own savings or finances, that whatever you have, if you are having an excess. Or even you can ask, if it's a partnership or if it's a corporation, you can ask the others to come and invest in your particular opportunity, right? If you can make a sort of a trust and good faith on you. Then the next one is a debt financing. Even you can go for a loan for financing purposes, where you can get the public funds to be financed in your organization through a bank, right? So that is how you get the debts, right? Bank is not going to give you their own money, but they are getting some money from the people, those who are, say, making the deposits and saving, and they will provide you with those money, and that will be considered as a debt. So make sure that you must understand the feasibility, and you must forecast the financial flows of your income before you decide on the arranging the financing, right? Now, becoming a business owner can be happen through one of the ways that we have showed here, right? Now, the first one is starting a new business. The first one is to start up a new business. As we told and as we discussed in the previous slide, you can start up on your own business by doing your own thing, right? The analytical thinking process, and you pick an idea, then after that you germinate the idea, and you try to develop a business plan, and then you come to the legal structure of the business, and after that you arrange the finance, and then you can start up a new business. That is one way. And of course, if you are having sort of money and you are having the finances, of course you can thinking of doing a business where you buy an existing business. There are some of the businesses where downfalling with the downfalling of the flows of profits, and some of the problems and problematic scenarios. So you can buy existing business by using your finances. Or else there are some of the franchises known as I should say some of the examples, like this is not an advertisement, but of course I'm mentioning, like Pizza Hut, Burger King, Dynamo. All these food outlets are the franchises, right? So you can buy a franchise where you being the franchisee, you can ask the franchisor to give you the permission to open up the franchise. So you do a business on behalf of another company. So you do your local business here in this country, and that is actually those things has to be based on your financial capacity and financial ability, the way that going to count your risk and all these things, right? Then the participate in business incubator. Now, the business incubator is a new concept where it has been grown after 1950. So business incubator is where you supply or provide some of the business related supportive services, right? It can be because the training, it can be the way that you work, or the procedures of the financial and procedures and things like that. So that is called the business incubator. In a way of being in a business incubator, you can put your hands into the businesses, and you can do whatever you want, not as you want, but of course there's a autonomy of yours to govern some of things according to your conceptual things, right? So in recent past, there was a concept introduced by the Britishers and the Americans. So that is called the virtual incubator, where some of the companies are online, they use the online strategies to govern the businesses and do so many sort of tasks in the businesses as in the means of incubation, right? So that is what you call as the virtual incubation, right? Then coming back to the small businesses, of course it's good to know about the small business growth and things, right? So what do you mean by the growth of a small business? Now first, when it comes to the very the initial stage of the business growth life cycle, or let's say the business life cycle, the first one is introduction, right? And then you have the basically the startup, right, where your business is just growing, right, with the idea germination, with financing, with all these efforts you start your business and you try to survive in the next stage. As you can see in this area, it's like survival, right? You just try to make a sort of a small sort of a profit where to just to sustain, where you are making some sort of you break you are breaking even your project in some cases, right, where you don't get any money out, but of course you try to balance your revenue and the costs in an equal way, right? So then you come to the success stage where your business will grow up for some extent, right? And this is where you try to push some of expansions into the business, right? You try to expand your business. In the case of takeoff, you will fly high because of the revenue. It can be the revenue is high, it can be the the turnover is very high, your business operations are expanded, so because of that you will take off. And in the case of maturity, that is a sort of a flatter, no, let's say it's a sort of a stable way of going a business where it has reached to its maximum limit, right? So in this case you can go for some of the marketing ideas known as the marketing concepts known as product differentiation, diversification, market diversification, right? So that is to harvest your product, right? There are so many varieties of ways that you can grow your business. So up to this point, when we are talking about the business, small business growth and things, so we discuss up to this point, right? So that is called maturity. That is the flatter way where this is the peak, or this is the highest limit that you can reach in this particular business model. So okay, so thank you very much for the attending lecture. I think like you almost all have understood what are the things that we have explained throughout the lesson. Thank you very much.